The date was November 5th, 1940. In the icy waters of the Atlantic Ocean, whilst escorting a convoy of vital war supplies, the armed merchant cruiser HMS Jervis Bay faced off against an adversary it had no hope of defeating. Her captain made a decision that would secure his legacy as a hero of unimaginable bravery. This is the story of Edward Fegen, VC, and the incredible sacrifice of HMS Jervis Bay. Edward Stephen Fogarty Fegen was born on October 8, 1891 in Southsea, Hampshire, into a distinguished naval family. He was one of 4 children, and his family's naval tradition heavily influenced him. Southsea, being a naval hub, offered young Edward an early exposure to maritime life, fostering his ambition to serve. His father, Vice Admiral Frederick Fogarty Fegen, inspired Edward's career, and at the age of 12 he entered Osborne Royal Naval College and later attended Dartmouth. By 1909 he began his service aboard HMS Dreadnought as a midshipman. His naval upbringing instilled discipline and a strong sense of duty which would define his career. Fegen's naval career began in earnest during the First World War. He served with distinction, earning the Sea Gallantry Medal for his courageous actions during the rescue of survivors from the SS War Knight in 1918, following a collision with the American oil carrier O.B. Jennings. This operation involved navigating through fire and hazardous conditions, demonstrating his exceptional leadership and bravery. In the interwar period, Fegen's career flourished. He commanded several vessels, including HMS Volunteer and HMS Somme, and, following his secondment, served as an executive officer at the Royal Australian Naval College, notably in Jervis Bay, a name that would later define his legacy. HMS Jervis Bay began her life as a passenger liner, ferrying immigrants between the United Kingdom and Australia. Built in 1922 in Barrow-in-Furness, northwest England, she was part of the Commonwealth Line. At a length of 549 feet, a beam of 68 feet and a draft of 33 feet, she was capable of a speed of 15 knots. However, the economic challenges of the late 1920s saw her sold to the White Star Line, and later converted into a one-class passenger ship. At the outbreak of World War II, Jervis Bay was requisitioned by the Royal Navy and transformed into an armed merchant cruiser. Her armament included 7 very outdated 6-inch Mark VII guns and 2 3-inch anti-aircraft guns. While her weaponry was no match for modern warships, her role was vital, escorting vulnerable merchant convoys across treacherous waters. Serving alongside Captain Fegen, her crew consisted of Royal Navy and Merchant Navy personnel, embodying the unity required during wartime. Though she lacked the firepower and armour of a dedicated warship, HMS Jervis Bay represented resilience and determination. In October 1940, HMS Jervis Bay was assigned to convoy HX-84. This convoy of 38 merchant ships carried vital supplies for Britain, a lifeline for a nation under siege. The convoy faced immense dangers, including German U-boats, mines and surface raiders, like the pocket battleship Admiral Scheer. The Admiral Scheer was a formidable opponent. Commissioned into service in 1934, she had a length of 610 feet, a beam of 70 feet and a draft of 23 feet 9 inches. Her 8 MAN diesel engines gave her a top speed of 28.3 knots, and at a cruising speed of 20 knots she had a range of 9,100 nautical miles. That's 16,900 kilometres. She was armed with 6 11-inch guns in triple turrets, 8 5.9-inch guns in single turrets, and 8 21-inch torpedo tubes. She was also heavily armoured, designed to outrun stronger ships while overwhelming weaker ones. Her captain, Theodore Cranke, sought to disrupt Allied supply lines by targeting convoys like HX-84. On November 5th, the Admiral Scheer intercepted HX-84 approximately 755 nautical miles southwest of Reykjavik. The convoy's intended route was from Halifax, Nova Scotia, across the perilous North Atlantic to Britain, carrying vital supplies critical to the war effort. Their course placed them in grave danger, as German naval intelligence had tracked their departure from Halifax. The convoy was spotted by a German Arado AR-196 reconnaissance seaplane, launched from the Admiral Scheer earlier that day. The aircraft promptly relayed the convoy's location to Captain Cranke, sealing HX-84's fate. The convoy's survival now depended on HMS Jervis Bay's extraordinary courage and leadership. As darkness approached, lookouts on board Jervis Bay spotted the silhouette of an unknown ship on the horizon. Fegen's initial thoughts were that it was an advanced ship of a protection force that he was expecting to rendezvous with. He instructed his signaller to flash a message asking, "What ship?" Despite the flashed messages, no answer was forthcoming. The only response from the distant ship, now only approximately 10 miles out, was to turn broadside on. Realising the imminent danger to the convoy, Captain Fegen ordered the merchant ships to scatter. This was no small task, as it required the merchant captains to immediately break formation and navigate independently through the treacherous North Atlantic, risking mines, U-boats and the sheer disorganisation of such an action. Fegen then turned HMS Jervis Bay toward the advancing Admiral Scheer, a decision that required not only courage, but a deep sense of duty and tactical awareness. He understood the sacrifice involved, but knew it was the only way to protect the convoy. The battle that followed was nothing short of catastrophic. The Admiral Scheer opened fire with her 11-inch guns, each shell capable of obliterating lightly armoured ships like Jervis Bay. Fegen was more than aware that his vessel was no match for such a powerful German warship, just as much as being aware that he was unlikely to get Jervis Bay's guns into an effective firing range. But he was also keenly aware that the survival of the convoy, their crews, and the vital supplies they carried rested squarely in his hands and those of the crew of Jervis Bay. Despite knowing that his ship would likely be imminently destroyed, he engaged Admiral Scheer. The first of Admiral Scheer's salvos struck the forward deck, causing explosions and fires that engulfed the ship. One of the forward guns was destroyed in a direct hit, killing its crew. Despite the chaos, Captain Fegen remained on the bridge, directing his crew to maintain their course toward the enemy. The incoming fire from Admiral Scheer was relentless, causing blast damage to the bridge and destroying the gunnery control system. Even after losing his right arm in the blast, Fegen refused to leave his post, embodying unyielding bravery and resolve. His final moments were spent ensuring the ship's guns remained active, despite the worsening conditions on board. As the Admiral Scheer's relentless bombardment continued, a direct hit from one of its 11-inch shells struck the bridge where Fegen stood. The explosion caused catastrophic damage, killing Fegen instantly. Eventually, HMS Jervis Bay could endure no more. Ravaged by fire and repeated shell strikes, the ship began to list heavily and ultimately sank, bow first, into the frigid Atlantic waters. She had never got her guns into firing range. Of the 254 crew members aboard, 187 perished, many succumbing to the flames or the icy ocean. Despite the horrific loss, the bravery of Fegen and his men bought the convoy precious time to scatter. And although Admiral Scheer was able to catch up 7 of the scattered convoy vessels and sink them with the loss of 253 lives, 31 merchant ships were able to escape the Admiral Scheer's wrath and deliver their much-needed cargo to Britain. For 22 agonising minutes, HMS Jervis Bay faced relentless bombardment. Her outdated 6-inch guns returned fire, but they lacked the range and power to damage the heavily armoured Admiral Scheer. Despite the futility of their counterattack, the Jervis Bay's sacrifice achieved its goal. Many convoy ships used the precious time bought by the engagement to scatter under the cover of gathering darkness. The selflessness and determination shown by Captain Fegen and his crew stand as a testament to the highest ideals of naval service. For his actions, Captain Edward Fegen was awarded the Victoria Cross, Britain's highest military honour. His heroism being immortalised in history and stands as a symbol of selflessness and duty. His sacrifice, along with the crew of HMS Jervis Bay, reminds us of the cost of freedom and the enduring spirit of those who defend it. Memorials in Southsea, London and across the Commonwealth honour his legacy. Winston Churchill himself acknowledged Fegen's bravery, highlighting his sacrifice in the broader context of Britain's fight for survival during World War II as part of his 5 Years of War broadcast speech in 1945. Thanks very much for watching. Please take a moment to hit the like button and consider subscribing.